Hello and welcome to Politics Today. I am Farrukh Pitafi. Viewers, once again we are going to talk about politics revolving around corruption. It is very important because you must have seen the Prime Minister of Pakistan's tweet actually informing us in comparison to the previous government how much strides has the government made. Only NAB's recovery has reached over 480 billion rupees. That is not a small amount, and we are going to, later in the program, we are going to present a report as well, just to qualify how much progress has been made. That is not all. When it comes to Jahangir Tareen group, one of the senior leaders of the party has, not party, but group, has actually declared a victory based on Ali Zafar's report. Raja Riaz claims that the report was presented to the Prime Minister of Pakistan, and in that report it was pointed out that Jahangir Tareen is innocent, or he is being targeted. So this is his claim, but of course we are going to see what becomes of the entire thing in the coming days. On the other side, the group has decided to retain its distinct identity. Despite being in the party, they claim that they are going to move forward as this group as well. So that is also quite interesting. On the other side, we have seen two other developments. One, I kept on telling you about Chaudhry Nisar and his attempts to take oath after almost 3 years of elections. If I don't show up for any job, or you don't, for a couple of months, maybe you will lose job, but not with Chaudhry Nisar. Today he actually took oath of his office, and we are going to see what exactly is that going to translate into. And then of course, regarding PDM, there's something very interesting going on. It seems that within PMLN there is a divide. One is led by the party president, Shehbaz Sharif, who seems to be pulling the party towards mending fences with People's Party. On the other side, the Mariam Nawaz group or Shah Khan Abbasi group seem to be actually pulling away. So we are going to see what exactly becomes of that as well in coming days. At least one thing is clear, that there isn't going to be a problem in government passing its budget at the center and as well as in Punjab. We are going to talk about all these matters, but before we do that, let us watch the report that I was talking about.
The PTI government came to power with one main agenda point in mind: to eliminate corruption from this country. In the nearly 3 years of PM Imran Khan's rule, Pakistan has made great strides in combating corruption. The difference in Punjab Anti-Corruption Department's performance during PTI government and PMLN government's 10 years is clearly visible in the results achieved so far. In 3 years, Punjab Anti-Corruption Department recovered Rs 220 billion in contrast to the PMLN government's 10 years of performance. State land worth Rs 192 billion was recovered as compared to Rs 2.6 billion worth of land recovered under PMLN's 10-year tenure. Cash recovery stands at Rs 2.35 billion as compared to only Rs 430 million during PMLN's 10 years. Indirect cash recovery now stands at Rs 26 billion in comparison to zero during PMLN's last 10 years. During the first 2 years of the PTI government, NAB recovered Rs 484 billion against only Rs 290 billion recovered during 1999 to 2017. The contrast speaks for itself in the NAB's performance.
Now that sounds like progress. We are going to talk about this as well, and then of course we have to talk about the future of politics in this country. What is the direction? Let me introduce the guest I've got in the studio. I have with me Naseem Siddiqui Sahab, who's a senior journalist. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Then Qazi Ahmed Akbar joins us on Skype. He is a spokesman of Punjab government representing Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Then we are joined by Qadir Khan Mandokhel, who is recently minted MNA of People's Party from Karachi. I was told that he will be joining us on Skype. At this moment, there seems to be some problem with the internet, but he is joining us nevertheless, and let us hope in a few minutes we see his picture as well. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. And then we are going to be joined by a representation of PML. And the moment they join, I'm going to welcome them as well. Let me start with you, Naseem Siddiqui Saab, regarding government's progress against corruption.
Thank you very much, Farrukh. It's a very good news that NAB has recovered a lot of money as compared to the previous tenures. And whereas you can see that today's report that anti-corruption department in Punjab, they have recovered much more money as it was recovered in the last 10 years. So that's a very positive thing. And the main theme when Imran Khan was in opposition, he was totally against corruption. And if he is going to handle this corruption and they are doing well in this regard, then they will be having more positive things in their credit. So that's a very good thing. And then opposition was when they were making hue and cry in the market for the economy as well. And you can see that economy is growing as well. We have indications.
Now, here's another thing, because we are going to talk about the other thing as well, and that is about various scandals that we have seen. Sugar mafia, there's a report. Atta mafia, petroleum mafia, we have seen some reports, right? So how is the government and when is the government going to recover money, looted money from those blocks?
Farrukh, you have seen that in this country we have seen corruption cases against Zardari Saab, Mia Saab, Hudaydiya paper mills, and after 20 years, 10 years, there is no result coming up. But in these days, you can see that few of the results are being coming. We have seen that yesterday, Raisani from Quetta, they have been given punishment. So things are moving on at least. You have seen the ring road scandal at least.
Let me remind people, Raisani Saab is the gentleman who actually
stored all of the money.
They found bags of cash. Something to the tune of 80 crore rupees stuffed in bags.
And he was having a machine to count that notes.
So that is quite an interesting thing. But let me go to Qazi Ahmed Akbar Saab. Sir, if you want to comment on the government's fight against corruption, please do it. But then naturally my question is going to be about the recent scandals where the government had actually vowed to take every corrupt person to task and recover money. And one name that actually figured in the discussion was of Jahangir Tareen Saab. And then we seem to be having a different kind of conversation around that issue now. Qazi Saab.
Thank you for calling me on your show. First of all, basically the anti-corruption and the accountability was the major election manifesto, and Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf contested on these goals. And Alhamdulillah, the pace I believe has been pretty slow, but the gradual recovery has been pretty good. If we compare the 10 to 11 years of PMLN and Pakistan People's Party, we see that the recovery of the NAB has been around 29 billion rupees per year. And if we compare it with our tenure, it's almost 153 billion rupees per year. So that itself means that the number has jumped almost 8 times. And then if we see the figures of anti-corruption Punjab, the amount of land that has been recovered from the Qabza Mafia and the looted money that has been recovered is again not 10 times but is almost 15 to 20 times as compared to what was done in the previous governments. So this itself shows that the intention of the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf government, be it in Punjab or in federal, is pretty clear that we have to go for a ruthless accountability and we have to recover the looted money. But the government from the day one has been facing problems as far as the prosecution is concerned. The prosecution side has been very weak as far as NAB is concerned. and then there have been a few amendments in the NAB ordinance, which itself created some confusions and also delayed the process at the same time.
Right.
Now,
but you are
question
explaining what are the
about,
bottlenecks in the way.
about the
My
Mafia.
question was about Jahangir Tareen Saab, and it seems that his group is claiming that they are on the verge of getting some reprieve. Is that true?
Not at all, sir. Not at all. No reprieve will be given as far as the Prime Minister Imran Khan is sitting on this seat. No one is going to get any concessions, no matter who. If Zulfi Bukhari, had to voluntarily step down, being a very good friend of Prime Minister, and I assure you on record that I know that Zulfi Bukhari is not a corrupt person. If Sabtan Khan can be taken from his ministry and made to sit outside, if Aleem Khan can be made to sit outside, and if there are many other names, if they are made to leave their ministries, so there is no concession for anyone in this government. One thing should be very clear. Now coming to the second part.
Qazi Sahab, when I'm going to come back to you, sir, I'm going to ask you to actually further elaborate because there are more questions about the matter. But let me first bring in Qadir Khan Mandokhel Sahab. Mandokhel Sahab, thank you very much for joining us, sir. One question that actually needs some elaboration. Right, there seems to be some problem with the connectivity. We are going to actually try to bring him back, but till that time, Naseem Siddiqui Sahab, this question about possibility of Jahangir Tareen getting some concessions.
Farrukh, I've seen the tweet of Ali Zafar, Senator Ali Zafar, and he categorically denied that he hasn't presented any report to Prime Minister yet. So how can we imagine that there is some report and Jahangir Tareen is going to get some benefit out of it? And whereas the Raja Riaz, who is the parliamentary leader of Tareen group in National Assembly, he is claiming...
Hang on. You keep on adding to my burden. How can a group have a parliamentary leader? Political parties are supposed to have parliamentary leader.
They are claiming.
Raja Riaz might be an MNA, but he cannot be parliamentary leader of anything until PTI makes it.
Yeah, exactly. Or otherwise they leave PTI and they make some forward group or thing like that. So as they are claiming that he is the leader of the Jahangir Tareen group in National Assembly. So he is claiming at the moment. But I don't think
you are debunking one of their claim and accepting another, because you were calling him the parliamentary leader of the group. But
as they claim, as per their claim. So I don't think so. Qazi Sahab was saying right thing that Imran Khan is not going to leave anybody. He categorically said that I will not leave anybody if he is involved in any corruption. So he will be looking after the Tareen case himself as well. And if there is some hanky-panky, in that case, he will not leave Tareen, because Prime Minister Imran Khan said on many occasions that he will leave the government. He will not get blackmailed, and he would rather prefer to sit in the opposition benches. So that is very clear message to all those people who are thinking that they will be getting some benefit from Prime Minister.
But if you compare what has been going on one side, of course, the Prime Minister says no concession for the guilty or corrupt, and of course he is not going to actually mollify any of the groups that has been actually accused of corruption, ergo, he doesn't actually have any contact with PMLN leader, who also happens to be the opposition leader. But in this group, the Prime Minister meets everybody with the exception of Jahangir Tareen, and they all go there as the advocates of Jahangir Tareen. And then there is this discussion about budget session, whether budget is going to pass, if they are not going to cooperate, or what exactly is going to happen. So there are questions.
Farrukh, these are PTI MNAs and they have got all the right to meet Prime Minister Imran Khan.
Yeah, but do they call themselves PTI MNAs or do they call members of Jahangir Tareen group?
No, they call that they are PTI MNAs and MPs, and they are still with PTI. But they have got some reservations that they want to discuss with the Prime Minister and with the Chief Minister.
What are those reservations?
In their opinion, it's that the Jahangir Tareen has been targeted by FIA, and they want to tell those reservations to the Prime Minister. If somebody from, if opposition, and they want to meet Prime Minister, and they have got some reservations, I'm sure Prime Minister will meet them as well. But opposition don't want to go to the Prime Minister, whereas PTI members, they decided to go to the CM Punjab as well, and to Prime Minister as well.
Right. Qazi Ahmad Akbar Saab, one hypothetical question. If tomorrow you learn that Jahangir Tareen is guilty of what he was accused of, and then his group sticks with him and wants to actually bring down the government, what is the government going to do?
I think one thing is very clear that Jahangir Tareen group has no intention to bring down the government. They have no intention to, disturb the budget process, and in no way and no means they are thinking of bringing any danger to the existing setup. This is basically a group within the party which is ruling the country and Punjab, where certain people of the party are demanding their rights from the party leadership and the government. So I don't think so there's a lot of confusion about it. Their demands could be very justified and their demands could be unjustified. All the justified demands are being met and have been met. All the unjustified demands will be thrown out of basket. So
thank you very much.
I think there should be no doubt in anyone's mind.
Qazi Sahab, I see the skill, mashallah. You very effectively pivoted away from my question. My question was, if they are proven guilty, and if this group actually supports Jahangir Tareen despite that, what are you going to do? I am sure that you are talking about the good sentiments that were expressed by Jahangir Tareen Sahab, but maybe you haven't been listening to what Raja Riaz said or MPAs of the party group said in the recent past, where one of them actually stated that they are going to give the Chief Minister of Punjab 1 month to deliver on the promises, or then we can do whatever we want. And at the center also, we have heard people saying that they can pose a challenge to the government.
Farrukh bhai, one thing should be very clear, that if Jahangir Tareen turns out to be standing on the wrong side of the history, Prime Minister and his followers are not going to stand with him no matter what. Then it's their choice. If those MPs and MNAs, they want to stand with the wrong and not be with the right, it's their political choice and they can take that choice. Nobody is stopping them from that. But at the same time, the Prime Minister and the government is not going to bow to their unjustified demands, no matter what. So
what happens? Because they command somewhere around 39 to 41 seats in both the houses. So they can actually pose a numerical challenge to the government's majority.
Yes, you're right. They can pose a challenge. This is a big number. Even if they were half of what they are today, they would still pose a big challenge to this government, because we are already sitting in both the parliaments with a very thin majority. So yes, there is a challenge. But these challenges does not mean that we start bowing to the unjustified demands of people even from our own party or our own government. So we'll stick to our stance, and that stance is ruthless accountability. We'll stick to our stances of delivering honestly, and we'll stick to our stance of working hard for the people of Pakistan, and we'll keep doing that. If we feel any day that these people, these mafias, whosoever they are, if they are going to act against the government and they're going to bring down the government, we will go back to the public and we'll again go for a vote of confidence, and inshallah we'll come with a bigger margin, with a bigger majority to serve the people of Pakistan.
Right. A vote of confidence in the assemblies or with the people?
I mean in public.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that, because the numbers in the two houses are fixed. But let me ask Naseem Siddiqui Saab. Another thing that has happened. Chaudhry Nisar was not joining the Punjab Assembly. And he kept on, staying away from politics. All of a sudden, Shehbaz Sharif comes out of prison, and then there's talk of some kind of agreement, disagreement, some kind of future planning. And all of a sudden, this gentleman decides to take oath. Then we see that the speaker was not available day before yesterday. But today, everyone actually fell in place, and he has taken oath. Is there a plan B regarding Punjab already underway? And is Chaudhry Nisar somehow connected to that?
I don't think so that there is some plan B from PTI government to bring Chaudhry Nisar in government.
No, not PTI.
Yeah.
The forces
the forces behind it. No, I don't think
PDM,
so. In my opinion,
others.
Farrukh, in my opinion, sometime you are fed up with your job and you want to take rest. And it's the same thing was with Chaudhry Nisar. He was taking that he has done a lot.
Chaudhry Nisar was fed up with his job and he wanted to take rest.
Take some rest, and he was not interested in the politics. He was not doing politics. He was just sitting in his constituency.
Okay.
And then I think that now he is get bored of those things, and he decided to come back to his job.
How do you conclude that?
Because, as I said, sometimes I get bored from one thing.
No, of course.
I take rest.
But in order for you to tell us, right, for us to believe that you were bored and you are taking a hiatus or you have gone for a hiatus, you have to tell us. Chaudhry Nisar never said anything.
Oh, he never tells things like that. And he was a minister. He was interior minister. He was sitting on a very big seat. He was a member of National Assembly. Okay. Now, going to the provincial assembly was a big question mark for him as well.
Okay.
So now I think he decided to continue with his constituency politics, because in the constituency most of the people might have asked
that constituency for almost 3 years was not represented by anybody in the Punjab Assembly.
Yeah, and that's the main
and
thing.
And now all of a sudden he decides that he is going to
he realized that he should go there or he should leave the seat. I don't know, he was taking
hang on. You keep on presenting us with a psychological profile of the man. My question was about the possibility of political change. Do you think there is...
No, I don't think so that there would be any political change, because if he has got very good terms with Shehbaz Sharif, but he has got a very bad terms with Nawaz Sharif. So in these days when you can see there is a rift between Muslim League meme and Muslim League Sheen.
Here's the thing. When People's Party first moved in to PDM and they were trying to target Punjab government, at that time, it seems that PMLN actually distanced itself from the idea, because Hamza would have become the CM. And that was perhaps not acceptable to Mariam and even Rana Sanawala. Now, it seems that in Chaudhry Nisar, there is an alternative.
No, people can think like this, but I don't think so that he would be replacing anybody or he will be coming as CM Punjab, because Prime Minister Imran Khan is very much satisfied with Usman Buzdar. Whatever the criticize is going
and
on
everyone
him,
is?
No, everyone is not going to change.
No,
Prime Minister, not everyone. Even people from the PTI, the members of the Punjab Assembly, they are not satisfied with his performance. But the decision is with Prime Minister Imran Khan. And if Imran Khan is not going to change him, then there is no chance for...
Right. Qazi Saab, tell me another thing. Regarding Chaudhry Nisar, it is your party which is ruling Punjab. In Punjab, the speaker is from an allied party. Then there are, court cases challenging Chaudhry Nisar's joining the assembly after this much time. How is it that he ended up taking oath while the matter is still sub judice?
I think, Farrukh bhai, we are trying to infer too much into what is all related to Chaudhry Nisar's oath taking. I think it has a very simple political...
No, hang on. What am I trying to do? Repeat, sir.
Sorry?
You said that I am trying to do what?
I'm saying that we are trying to infer too much with all the associated things about Chaudhry Nisar. It has a very simple background, political background to it. He lost two National Assembly constituencies badly in the general elections, and he was just making the most advantage of the silence of the rules and the laws as far as the taking of the oath is concerned. And when he saw that now the Punjab government has gotten serious in this aspect, and we are about to bring out an ordinance in this regard, and then later an act in the Parliament in the Punjab Assembly about the oath taking within a certain specified time period, he thought that it's better that he should take the oath, because otherwise he would have lost his PP10 seat also. Because in no way that Chaudhry Nisar could have taken this seat again in the by-election. So probably he thought it more appropriate to sit at least in one of the houses. Someone who has a total disconnect in his previous party, that is PMLN, has no connection or future connection with Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, which is the ruling party, and at the same time the statement coming from the Speaker Punjab Assembly from the CAF League that they have no intentions whatsoever of going against the Postar government. So I believe there's nothing specific about it. It was just one or two days of media.
Right. Qazi sir, my question to you was not about Chaudhry Nisar's intentions. My question was about your party's decision or your allies' decision to actually bring him in. Because it seems that the matter actually lies in the courts. Until the time the issue is sub judice, it would have been wise not to let him take oath.
Basically, the statement that came from Mr. Bhatti, who is the Secretary of Punjab Assembly, it is very clear that he had asked for 2 days' time just to check with all the honourable courts that if there was any stay related to the petitions that have been put up in this regard. After due diligence that there are no stays on it, no matter if it is sub judice or not. Since the rules are silent on this, so obviously the courts will have to again interpret, or they have to decide in their own manner. So there was no legal hurdle or the rules or the businesses of the house that could stop Mr. Nisar from taking the oath. So we did it.
Okay, that might be the legalistic explanation, but you realize that any of us, if they didn't show up for the job for a couple of months, they would lose job. I understand that remarkably so, this country doesn't have any law barring anybody from actually taking oath after this much time. But even if so, do you think it is a good look?
No, overall it's not a good look, because somebody who's coming after 3 years in the house and is still able to take the oath is itself, a slap on the whole process of electing the people and then bringing them and then representing their own constituencies in the house. Because somebody who has not represented his constituency in the house for the past 3 years has no legal or moral standing to come in the house and say that I'm back into the house. So technically, the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf Punjab government was all set to bring out the ordinance in the next 24 to 48 hours when Chaudhry Sahab decided that no, he is going to come back. So he took the place, and even then, let me just tell you on record that the Punjab government still plans to, kill the silence on these rules and bring up an ordinance and then later an act in the assembly to ensure that nobody does this again.
And about that ordinance, why is it taking the government this much time to bring out that ordinance? The idea was that it is an executive action, so it can take place regardless of the legislative process.
Probably the issue was not that important. It was just one constituency. So yes, but probably the heightened attention was not that much. But the good thing is that when Punjab government realized and we actually started working on that ordinance, somebody must have told Chaudhry Sahab that even your last, the train, you are going to miss that also, and you are not going to any of the houses for the next 2 years. So probably then he decided that he should jump back on the train.
Right. Let me come back. Naseem Siddiqui Sahab. If there is nothing to see here. Why is it that media is going crazy on the news?
Which news?
Chaudhry Nisar.
Chaudhry is because media needs sour and salty things every time.
Okay.
And there are speculations, and they are just playing with that at the moment. I'm telling you right here, sitting now, that there
You are
won't
from
be,
media.
Yeah.
I'm from media.
Yeah, but we
Telling
are
a lie is media's job.
not telling lie, but speculations are there. You can predict yourself that what's going to happen.
But
These
if
are the
they-
predictions, I think so.
But if there is nothing serious going on, why would media exaggerate a bit?
Then we say in Urdu that could be the khwahish of the people.
Okay.
That they are just
The
predicting.
media's high.
Media, or some part of the media, or some people from the media.
Okay.
They might have got this
Okay.
thinking that this will happen, or because for the last 3 years we are keep hearing that now Jahangir group has emerged. This thing will be going to happen. PDM has come into the action, and this thing will go. The government will go in March. The government will go after the Eid. So we have been seeing these things,
Yeah, we
listening
have
to
been
these things,
hearing
but nothing
that.
is going to happen. Nothing
We
happening.
have been hearing that for past 14 years.
14 years.
It used to happen
Yeah.
with every government.
Every government.
But with due respect, while the speculation is there, how sure are you that there is not going to be any kind of political surprise in coming days?
That's totally my opinion.
No, but the game plan seems to be such, and I tell you what. The federal government presents budget, it is approved, right? Government moves on and keeps on doing what it is doing. In Punjab, the budget fails or somebody actually foils it, and the government falls apart. And then, as a consensus candidate, Chaudhry Nisar actually emerges, and he becomes the chief minister.
That's also a
This is
prediction.
the speculation.
Yes, speculation.
Yeah.
That's a speculation. But we have seen that the budget will, if the budget goes, everything goes good with the budget pass. The PTI people, those who are in the Jahangir group at the moment, they met CM Usman Buzdar, and he
but
satisfied
hang on,
them
hang
as
on.
well.
How certain are you?
100%.
Okay, as much certain as you were that Yusuf Reza Gidlani is going to lose in Senate election?
That was my prediction, but that goes wrong. This can go.
Surprise can happen. This is what I'm
Surprise
saying.
can happen. Yes, we can think of that one.
I mean, if you remember, in this panel, we had a panel that day, and everybody agreed that Yusuf Reza Gidlani cannot win.
Yeah.
And then he won.
Yeah, things can happen. Definitely things can happen. But I don't think so that there would be that much big upset in Punjab that Chaudhry Nisar will come the CM Punjab. I can't digest this thing at the moment.
Why not?
Because I don't think so that things are going that much wrong in the PTI or in the Punjab government. If PMLN goes for the no confidence vote and they do some activity over there in Punjab,
They will not bring down the government.
then there might be a chance that you can remove CM Punjab. But sitting like this and thinking that Chaudhry Nisar will he's joined the Punjab Assembly and he will take over and he will come the CM of Punjab.
The plan apparently doesn't come from PMLN. It comes from People's Party, and they believe that it is PTI.
People's
That
Party
will-
has got 6 or 7
PTI.
seats in
No,
Punjab
no, no, no.
Assembly.
They
can dream of that.
No, whosoever thinks this, they think that basically it is PTI and it's lies who are not going to let the budget pass in Punjab.
No, I don't think so. Budget will be passed because
Yeah.
the PTI members, they are bound to give vote to their party.
Okay?
Yeah, so they have to vote PTI and then the budget will
Right.
pass.
Qazi Ahmad Akbar Saab, what does the rule say about budget voting? Is it open or is it secret?
Couldn't hear your question.
When budget voting actually takes place in Punjab, voting on treasury bill or money bill, is the voting secret or open?
No, it's an open voting, sir.
Right. Then there is less chance of the Punjab government being surprised by something new.
Yes, sir. There's almost a zero chance of anything unusual happening because these people, by law, are bound to vote for the parties on the floor that they are sitting. So
Right.
I don't think so. There's any problem whatsoever for the budget.
And if 20, 30 people don't show up?
Even then, the majority still remains.
Okay. Okay. Regarding the surprise and preparations, we have talked about this, but our main discussion is government's push against corruption. So let me come back to another very important issue, that is the Ring Road case. Why do you think that such a thing happened, and how much time will it take for us to know the details?
Okay. Now, the first thing is that already an inquiry was conducted by the new commissioner, and it has given its preliminary report. Now, the case has been sent to NAB and FIA and Anti-Corruption Punjab, all three of these, and now they are going to conduct their inquiries, and they have been given, the NAB has not been given any timeline, but the FIA and the Anti-Corruption Punjab has been given a timeline of, I think it's probably 120 days that they have to submit a report with the Prime Minister of Pakistan. Right. So once that report comes out, and then obviously NAB will be conducting its own inquiries and references. So I think that is going to decide who actually is to be blamed for all this. But for
right.
now,
but Qazi Sahab, you are giving me
the political side. Yes.
Qazi Sahab, you are giving me an explanation which is more a formal one. You actually come from the region. This is your constituency. So give us some inside scoop, sir.
Farrukh bhai, it's not my constituency, but yes, it is my district. And yes, there's no doubt about it that the alignment has been changed, and the number of, you can say that the length of the ring road was also increased. So basically, now there are two aspects to this whole thing. As far as I am concerned, this is my point of view, that if an alignment of a particular road is changed or the length is increased to benefit the farmers of that vicinity, then it's altogether a different case. But if the alignment and the length of the road is increased to support and help the housing projects, then the whole aspect changes. So now this is basically depending on the intention of all the people who are involved, that what they were trying to do. Now, given the current situation and the ground realities, there aren't many farmers who are basically being helped or being supported by taking the road to happiness or the road to richness to their areas. So basically, the bad point about this whole situation is that the whole exercise was done to basically help the housing projects. And in that case, I believe it needs a very strong and a strong-rooted inquiry. Only then can we know that what were the intentions behind it and who were the people involved behind it.
And Qazi Sahab, who greenlit it? Who is the executive chief or the chain of command here?
Basically, the chain of command that starts with the Commissioner Ralpindi, and the court is co-chaired by the LAC, and then there's an officer from RDA also. So these are the three people who are actually signing these orders of aligning and realigning and increasing the length of the ring road.
Right. But you are talking about bureaucrats.
Is concerned,
political
is
supervision.
The one giving the orders verbally, but not in written form.
Who is doing that?
Other than these three people, whoever is involved verbally. So it is going to get very difficult for any inquiry committee to prove that how the verbal orders were given.
No, but my question was that if you actually look at the overall pyramid, there must be a political supervisor as well. Who is that? On books?
No, they don't have any political supervisor in this contest. On books, there is no one.
Bureaucrats seldom have that kind of autonomy, do they?
Exactly, but then what I am trying to say is that the political side, if it is involved, has given verbal orders. There can't be any written orders. So
I
now it
get
all
that.
depends on the
My
inquiry committee if
question
it is
was
able to,
simple.
draw
My
out
question
any
was
WhatsApp
simple, that
conversations or
usually a
telephone
provincial
conversations of
minister
what
heads
is being given
the
verbally or
people who are
something, or
sitting there, right? But at this moment, sir, I'm told that we have to conclude the program. Qazi Ahmad Akbar Saab, thank you very much for your precious time. And Naseem Siddiqui Saab, thank you very much for your time as well. Viewers, you have listened to the participants. The government's policy seems to be very clear, but every party and every governance structure is complicated. There usually are people somewhere in there who might actually try to benefit, because the intention of corruption actually flows from privilege, or the desire to have privilege. It is important to see that the Prime Minister is committed to fight it, and then to actually reinforce the expectation or demands from the Prime Minister, so that corruption can be brought to its logical conclusion. This was today's program. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.